Good morning, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. So this is what we've been talking about week after week. You don't still your mind. You still your body. With practice, over time, the mind will still itself. And this actually goes right to what someone was just talking about with yoga. This is why this is the opposite of yoga. In yoga, you are moving, right? In meditation, we're not stilling the mind. It's impossible. I don't know by the grace of what God anyone might be able to still their mind. You can still your body. And when you still your body, over time, the mind stills itself. And that's what we're doing here. So let's do it, okay? Come into your best posture. As we've talked about, it's all about opening up this breathing pump system from your nose to your scalenes, your chest, your obliques to your transverse abdominal muscles. You want all of this open. You don't want to collapse in on it. The trick to that is to arch your back. When you arch your back, this naturally all opens up. To get to a place where your arch is easy and you're not forcing it, because if you're forcing an arch, it's going to collapse after a while, and then you're moving and you're not still. And the whole point is to still your body. So we sit on the edge of a chair. And when you sit on the edge of a chair, your back naturally arches. I'm not arching my back. The chair is doing the work for me. My elbows go at my side. My hands lay flat so that my body can be still. In this still position, we practice. We practice following the breath, because when you're still, there's nothing else that you're doing other than sitting. So practice paying attention and maintaining focus on the one thing that you are doing, which is breathing. So keep the attention on the breath. This is a body practice. This is a physical, technical practice focused on the body breath. Take a deep breath and then a big exhale. Just let everything that's not here and now fall away. And then just notice the natural flow of your breath. Find a space or a spot to lay and rest your open eyes on so that your eyes are open and you're sitting with reality. Then turn all of the focus to the rise and fall of your belly breath. We will sit for 5 minutes. I'll start with a bell and end with a bell. Enjoy your breath. The mind is supposed to wander. That's its job. As soon as you notice you're off in a story, just come back to the breath. Come back to this reality. Your breath is always brand new. Don't miss a millisecond of it. Quieter, more aware, more awake. Breathe. Okay, that was 5 minutes. Oh, we have a visitor. You might have heard him during the sit. He decided he was not wanting to be silent still. But the screams of nature, right? You don't want to drown these things out. We talked about this a little bit last week, and I actually wanted to talk about one of the teachings today of Master Mazu, and so meditation is not about fleeing reality, but about meeting reality. And meeting and accepting reality can be awesomely difficult. That is why so many people give up. Illusion can be so much easier to bear. What of the novice monk coming to Mazu's monastery? Now, Mazu was a Zen master, a Zen priest in the time of the Aleutian Revolution, which is something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, which was the birth of Zen meditation, which is essentially what I teach. And Zen was born during a 10-year civil war in which 2 out of every 3 people died, much worse than what we're facing now, and it went on for 10 straight years. It was devastation. So people would come to things like meditation or religion or yoga to try to escape reality. So the author of this book, Janet Abels, it's Making Zen Your Own, and it's a historical look at the 12 of the ancestors, 12 of the great Zen teachers. She asked, what did the novice monk, what would each of us, we're novice monks, right? What of the novice monk who came to Mazu's monastery? Did he find genuine freedom in clinging to the illusion of his ancestral home? What about that today, right? Did he find genuine freedom of clinging to the illusion of his home that was burned during a war? Or about our life before COVID? Do you find genuine freedom in clinging to the illusion of the past or a dream of a future? So did he find genuine freedom in clinging to the illusion of his ancestral home now devastated? Did he find freedom in clinging to the sorrow, to the bitter thoughts, to the anger over the death of his parents and siblings from famine? Did he find freedom in clinging to the illusion of being able to escape from life's hell into a serene interior life within the monastery walls? He did not, for he was not given the opportunity to do so. In Mazu's monastery, There was none of this going off into some blissful place. A novice monk was now met with a a new method of teaching. And that method of teaching is what you just did for 5 minutes. You sit and you be with reality. It's boring. You have to look at it. You can't close your eyes. You can't go off into some dream state. Good, 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 good. You stay with reality for just 5 minutes and you're starting to build a muscle because there is no freedom in the illusions of the mind. There's just this reality. And the thing is if we get out of get out of the way of our minds that thinks that things should be better or could be better or should be better, if we just quiet those thoughts and are with reality as it is, we see that we actually have more than we need, right? And this isn't some airy fairy like, oh, right now everything's perfect, but there's people that are starving. No, no, no. I'm talking about like in death, at the moment of your death, that when you are quiet enough and realize that you are this whole thing, no matter what happens, you can move with it, just like life. Is there a difference between Zen and Buddhist meditation? Well, Zen is a form of Buddhism. I don't know what your history is with different religions or philosophies. Zen is a form of Buddhism. It was actually when Buddhism came to China around the year 545, it met Taoism, and the meeting of Taoism and Buddhism was the nest egg of Zen. But Zen was truly born during this An Shan revolution, during these 10 years of famine and death and war, when they said, look at it. So the difference between Zen and other kinds of Buddhism is some might have you close your eyes or say a word or chant or something like that. Zen says, look right at life. Because when you are faced with utter destruction or utter joy, whatever you face, right? If you can look right at it, you can be with it. Yeah, it's not about attaining, it's not about gaining, but everything does go back to the historical Buddha. The teachings all come from the same place. And he was a man, he was not a god. He just did the work. And he had to do this work that you did for 5 minutes a day until the day he died. That's the good news. He could, no matter how enlightened he was, he could never stop practicing. Kirsten, do you recommend breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your nose? Or do you recommend breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth? I've heard it best to breathe in and out. Technically, yes. You want to stick your tongue up behind your teeth. This is actually what also gives you a nice jawline, which I did not do for most of my life, so I don't have that. But yeah, ideally you stick your tongue up behind your palate, open up the airway, and breathe in and out through the nose. And you feel it, because then you're engaging the entire breathing pump system. Yes, and now if you have a cold or you can't, you do what you can, right? But really engage with the breath. Really engage with the breath. Okay, so let me go back to my screen share, and I just want to go over a couple of other little things. So as you were just talking, meditation is a focus on the breath, right? And I wanted to share with you this great study. This was published in January of 2018 in the Journal of Neurophysiology. And this is a fascinating study because we were just talking about different kinds of meditation. It's great that your question asked this. Different forms of meditation that are all Buddhist. It's all about being present to reality in whatever way you can do that. And that's why there's no right or wrong way. If someone says that their form of meditation is better than another, question that, because they're holding on to an idea of right and wrong. You do what's right for you. You do what works for you. I'm a huge advocate of looking at reality, because when you can look at reality and be at reality, you can live no matter what happens. It doesn't have to be airy and blissful. But this is a great study that actually went into some of this. They realized that they weren't sure scientifically of the mechanism of meditation. Like, what is it? Because what we know from a scientific perspective is that when you meditate, not only do you do all the philosophical things that we're talking about here, but you're more productive, you're more focused, your memory increases, you're able to remember things more easily and longer. You have better problem solving skills, you have better emotional intelligence, you're able to learn faster and easier, right? Like, you have less stress, less anxiety, less depression. The results of meditation are enormous. But scientifically, they couldn't actually see what was going on in someone's brain to know what is it exactly, what is the mechanism of meditation that's enabling this, what they call higher executive function, this more coherent and organized mind. So with this test, someone was brilliant. They realized that patients that have severe epilepsy, in order for them to actually stop bad seizures that they can't control otherwise, they actually have to open up the skull and expose the brain, and they put a number of electrodes in the brain, and they wait. They wait sometimes a few days, sometimes a month, for that person to have a seizure. And when they have a seizure, they can locate where in the brain to clip so that they can stop the seizures. Someone was brilliant and realized, wait, we have these people with brains open that are otherwise, smart, cognizant people. Why don't we try different things? Let's see if we can test what is it that makes for a more coherent and organized mind. This is a great study that found that only focused attention on the breath resulted in a more coherent and organized mind in the brains of these patients. No other thing actually had a statistically significant effect on how your mind was organized and how coherent and focused you could be. Just the focus on the breath. And that's why I keep saying, come back to the breath, come back to the breath. From here, shall we just sit? We've been doing 5 minutes. We did 5 minutes before. I'd like to try 7 minutes before we do any last questions. You're welcome. Good luck to whoever has to go to PT for their foot. All right, so let's sit. Let's try 7 minutes. I promise you, no one will die. 7 minutes of still and quiet might be frustrating. You might become super itchy. You might get super tired. Okay, come back to the breath. Don't let the tired or the itch or the mind lead. Keep coming back to the breath. Practice being present and aware and anchored to your body here and now. So, deep, long, slow inhale. Exhale, let everything drop. Let it all go. And just come into here, now, the room you're in, the body you're in. Notice your breath. And you're not going to some blissful, perfect place. You're coming into right now. Look at it, breathe with it, pay attention. Stay with your breath. each breath, become a little more focused, a little more anchored, a little more aware. Stay with your breath. So that was 7 minutes. How'd it go? Did anyone die? No, no one died, right? You can do it. You can absolutely do it. It's 12:15, actually on time this week. Went great, fantastic, right? And this is the thing, right? This is about reality. Sometimes it goes great. Sometimes you're futzing around. Sometimes you want to get up and run. Keep coming back to the breath. Sometimes you will get up and run. Okay, that's reality. Practice again, practice again, practice again. When we are itchy, can we scratch, or does that lead to more scratching? Okay, yeah, this is great. So there's a couple of main things that come up, especially in the beginning when you're sitting, and one of them is the itch. Normally I'm fine, but especially when I first started, all of a sudden there'd be like one little hair that was like hitting me in just the right spot in my cheek, and it was like the most painful thing that has ever happened to me. And I've broken my leg, and this would be more painful all of a sudden, right? That's your mind. It's your mind. And it will hurt. The hurt is real. We don't get rid of that. But stay with the breath and observe it for yourself. See what happens if you take the focus off the itch and keep coming back to your breath. You will be surprised that at some point the itch will just disappear. You'll forget about it entirely. Sometimes it'll be there the whole time, but even if it is there the whole time, you've now built a muscle of restraint and focus that you never had before. Sometimes it'll go away, sometimes it won't. Either way, you'll notice on one hand, it's your mind. On the other hand, it doesn't matter what your mind does, you have more strength. You have more resilience. You don't have to follow the mind every time something itches you. And that itch could be an anxiety or a stress or a depression or a fear or an uncertainty. You look at it, you recognize it, you don't make it go away, you don't push it away. But when you come back to this reality, what happens? And check it out for yourself. These are good questions. Is that helpful, Becca? Yeah, okay, good. Any other questions? Any other needs, issues, suggestions? I'm here for you guys. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you guys. I'm really super grateful for you guys being here each week. And so you've done 7 minutes. If you did 5 minutes every day last week and you just did 7 minutes now, shoot for 7 minutes. If you miss a day, okay, do it again the next day. But if you miss 2 days in a row, go back to 5 minutes. You miss 3 days, go to 3 minutes. I'd rather you hit every day for 1 minute than once a week for 7. But if you are hitting every day a week for 5 minutes or 7 minutes, you've got to push yourself further, right? So be with where you are. There's no right or wrong. Stay with your reality and work from there, but get the consistency down. And I will see you next week. Thanks. Sit strong. Thank you guys. Have a great one. Bye.